Imagine a world where the skies never clear, where the winds never cease their howling, and where the rain falls in an endless punishing deluge. This is unscience fiction. It is a glimpse into a future that climate scientists warn could become our reality. Hurricanes that dwarf entire coastlines, typhoons that rewrite the very geography of islands, and cyclones that leave millions displaced. These aren't just storms, they're superstorms, and they're pushing the boundaries of what we once thought possible. What would you do if storms never stopped? In recent years, we've witnessed storms of unprecedented power and scale. As our oceans warm due to climate change, they become a vast reservoir of energy, fueling these storms to heights of intensity we've never seen before. The warmer the water, the more energy available, and the more powerful the potential storm. Refugee crises would explode on a scale that would dwarf anything we've seen before. Power grids would fail under the constant assault. Transportation networks would be severed as roads flood and airports close indefinitely. Marine life would face unprecedented challenges as ocean chemistry is altered by the constant influx of freshwater and debris. On land, forests would be flattened and soil erosion would accelerate at a terrifying pace. Could nature itself adapt quickly enough to survive? Communication systems would falter, leaving vast swaths of humanity isolated and in the dark. Constant flooding and high winds would make traditional farming impossible in many regions. Underground habitats, shielded from the constant winds and rain, could become the new normal for many. At some point, the energy required to constantly rebuild and maintain civilization in the face of endless storms might exceed our capacity to generate it. We would be locked in a losing battle against nature itself. Agriculture might move entirely indoors or underwater, with vast hydroponic facilities replacing traditional farms. Food scarcity would become a global crisis, potentially leading to widespread famine and social unrest. The storms are already intensifying. The clock is ticking. What will you do to ensure that the skies of tomorrow don't become an endless maelstrom? Will we act now, or will we wait until the storm clouds gather, never to disperse again? How would we feed billions in a world where the weather never allows crops to grow? It underscores the urgency of addressing climate change now, before we reach tipping points from which there's no return. In a world of perpetual superstorms, how long could our fragile networks of technology and commerce survive? Current mitigation efforts focus on reducing carbon emissions to slow the pace of climate change. But in a world of endless superstorms, we'd need to think bigger, much bigger. Ideas like injecting reflective particles into the upper atmosphere to cool the planet, or using giant floating structures to break up hurricanes, could move from science fiction to desperate necessity. But these technologies come with their own risks and ethical quandaries. Who decides if we should attempt to engineer the entire planet's climate? How would nations cope with this sudden influx of climate refugees numbering in the tens or even hundreds of millions? But what exactly makes a storm super? It's not just size or wind speed. Superstorms are meteorological monsters, combining extreme wind velocities with vast size, prolonged duration, and the ability to unleash catastrophic rainfall. They're nature's fury given form, and they're becoming more common with each passing year. The culprit behind this intensification lies beneath the waves and high in our atmosphere. Imagine a world locked in a perpetual state of meteorological siege, where the concept of storm season becomes meaningless because there is no respite. But it's not just about heat. Changes in atmospheric circulation patterns are creating conditions ripe for storm formation and intensification. Jet streams are weakening and shifting, allowing storms to linger and grow. The delicate dance of air currents that once kept weather patterns predictable is now a chaotic waltz, with superstorms as the lead dancers. The relentless assault of wind and waves would erode shorelines at an unprecedented rate. Buildings designed to withstand occasional hurricanes would crumble under constant battering. What would happen to New York, Miami, or Tokyo if they faced not one superstorm, but an endless procession of them. Now let's venture into a chilling hypothetical. What if these superstorms became not just more frequent, but continuous? In this nightmarish scenario, coastal cities would face an existential threat. The human toll would be catastrophic. Mass evacuations would become the norm, with millions forced to abandon their homes and livelihoods. Infrastructure, the backbone of modern civilization, would face collapse. The ecological fallout would be equally devastating. Entire ecosystems would be upended. Coastal wetlands, crucial for biodiversity and natural storm protection, would be obliterated. Agriculture, the foundation of human civilization, would be pushed to the brink. In the face of such a bleak scenario, the question becomes, could we survive or even adapt? Climate engineering proposals, once considered fringe or too risky, might become our only hope. Adaptation strategies would need to be radical. We might see the rise of floating cities, designed to rise and fall with storm surges. But there are limits to adaptation. The scenario of endless superstorms serves as a stark warning, a glimpse into a future we must strive to avoid at all costs. As we stand on the precipice of this potential future, we must ask ourselves, are we doing enough? Can we change course before it's too late? The choice and the future is in our hands.